Welcome to Therapy Clarity. I'm Deri Latimer. I'm a keynote conference speaker, and I specialize in speaking on resilience and all things about happy, healthy workplaces. And I am joined by...
I'm Dr. Kelly Penner Hutton, and I am a psychologist who works in private practice at Peace of Mind Therapy and Consultation. And I was Deri's therapist when she sought therapy.
Yes. And we thought it would be really fun and interesting to record our experiences, our shared experiences, which are, of course, from a completely different perspective, and offer that to others who might be wondering about the experience of therapy. And we have a story that we thought that you might find interesting. So Kelly, maybe just to start off, why don't you tell us a little bit about what drew you to become a psychologist? What was behind, your motivation behind that direction?
Yeah, probably very similar to many other therapists that are out there, whether they're psychologists or counselors. But, had an experience when I was growing up with family members who had some mental health issues, and found that it was really difficult for people to seek services, to find the right services, and to feel supported and comforted as they're going through these, difficult, challenging times in their life. And so as I was transitioning from high school into university, I figured that was probably the best direction for me to go in, was to try and help people.
Lovely. That is certainly nice to hear. And one of the things that I'm always curious about, again, is what's behind someone's choices, but also what are sort of some of the fundamental beliefs, if you like, that support your approach to clients, your beliefs about the people who, like me, who enter your office.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I guess partly it's just because I genuinely care about people. I really do. I care about every single person who sits in front of me, whether they're in my therapy office or office. And I just want what's best for people. Now, everyone will have challenges throughout their life. Everybody. I know I've had mine. You've had yours. We have our ups and downs, right? And it's a bit of a journey. So for me, mental health isn't about obtaining this perfect picture of mental health, but about the journey that we're on, and the ups and the downs, and how we handle them, or maybe sometimes how we don't handle them. But then eventually, maybe we get some support and get back on the path again and continue on that journey.
Yeah, I love that. And I know a big motivation for both of us in doing this and sharing our experiences is that we'd like to send a message that that this therapeutic process is one of, it can seem a little bit like experimentation a bit. In other words, a person might start off, might come, meet with a therapist and find things aren't working.
Yeah, and
And
that's what happened with you, right? Do you want to share
it
a little bit
is.
about that?
Yeah. So when I in March of 2020, I just started feeling horrible, and I didn't understand why.
Mhm.
And it took many months. Of course, we were in the throes of COVID at the time, for me to even get in to see a therapist. So the first one I visited, it was I just knew right away from the first appointment it wasn't a good match, and I did not go back to that therapist. Then it again took a while. I found another therapist, started there, and went for several sessions. So I thought we had, like, the chemistry was decent,
Mhm.
but I wasn't finding that I was getting any better through the sessions. And it was interesting because she agreed. She thought that there was something going on, that maybe I needed something else, a different approach than she was using, and she recommended EMDR, which brought me to you. So maybe you can tell us a little bit
Yeah.
about
Before we
EMDR.
do that, maybe we'll just highlight that it's really important that people continue to seek out services if they don't find that right match right away. So for the first therapist that you saw, the chemistry wasn't there, or the rapport wasn't there between the two of you, but also the therapeutic approach that particular psychologist had recommended wasn't a good fit for you. Right away, you had a body reaction to it, right?
Yes,
Do
I
you want to
did.
talk a
Yeah.
little bit about how you knew that wasn't the right fit for you?
Sure. Well, and again, this was, the first appointment I had, and I just wanted to feel better. So that's, when it was a gentleman at the time, when he asked me, how can I help? I just said, I just want to feel better. I feel terrible. I can't sleep. And I just feel horrible. And I shared in that appointment, as he was scoping me out a bit, getting to know me, that I had an experience with a person I cared about who died by suicide in my 20s. And certainly that was a big event in my life. And as we were chatting, he shared that he thought I compartmentalized things, and that he thought one approach might be, for him, it's similar to an approach he uses with soldiers, for example, who come back from war, who have to compartmentalize their experience in order to do the job they have to do. When they come back, he would show them images of war and of people dying in war. So he sort of said to me, I would perhaps show you pictures of people who have died by suicide. And I just instantly knew that would not work for me. In fact, it frightened me, to be really honest. It was so it was very unpleasant. I just knew this wouldn't be the experience that I, wanted to venture down, even though I didn't know what I needed at that time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And the second approach was, again, this person who I think we had decent rapport, was cognitive behavior therapy, which I was somewhat familiar with, I guess, but it just didn't, there was no relief that I saw at all in the, number of sessions that I had with her.
Yeah. So the first one you're talking about is a type of exposure therapy. We use exposure a lot in therapy, and that's one example of a type of exposure therapy, but that type didn't gel with you very much. Actually, I think you got a very strong visceral reaction just in your gut saying that wasn't going to be a good match for you. The second one,
Yes.
again, you had that good rapport with your psychologist, but the work that you were doing, that cognitive behavior therapy, wasn't a good match for you. And that's probably because you had a ton of those cognitive skills even before you had the depression that you ended up with during the pandemic, right? And sometimes cognitive skills are wonderful and can be very helpful, but they just weren't helpful for you at that time where you were then, right? It might have been
Yes.
helpful another time, but not this time, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So what's really great is you didn't give up, right?
Did not.
You got a little
No.
nudge from some friends to keep going.
Yeah.
But really it was you who decided to keep going. And I just think that's so valuable for a lot of people out there that don't find that right match, either with the therapist in terms of the rapport between them and the therapist, or with the therapy, the type of intervention being used, right?
Yes.
Mhm. So
Yeah.
sometimes you got to keep trying until you find the right match both ways.
Yes. Yeah. And that's again another, as you said, another real important part of the message. We believe in doing something like this and sharing this, that it's what works for one person might not for the other. So keep going until you find that really good match.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I am an EMDR therapist. I am trained in EMDR and I train others in EMDR therapy. I do use cognitive behavior therapy and aspects of exposure therapy in my work. I also use a lot of other things. So mindfulness, I do animal assisted therapies. I use dialectical behavior therapy tools. So I incorporate all that into my EMDR therapy intervention tool. So we can pick and choose kind of what's needed for each client when they come in. For you, you didn't need those cognitive strategies. So we actually needed to give you different strategies at the beginning, right?
Yes.
But I guess what's important is that EMDR is really a whole comprehensive therapy. It's not just about the reprocessing of old memories. Okay? That's an important part, but not the only part. So we always want to start off with what we call stabilization first, or preparation phase in EMDR. So I'm going to learn a little bit about you and what you need, and then figure out what tools, coping strategies would be helpful for you before we move into doing that reprocessing work. Okay, so
Right.
EMDR sets you up to be able to do that reprocessing work so that when you're ready to visit some of those most difficult times in your life, those past experiences that have set up the way that you are feeling and thinking, and what's going on in your body now. So all the symptoms that you're having, right? Those past experiences contribute to how you're feeling in the now.
Right.
You're ready for it because we've set you up for it, right? So then you can visit it. And I remember you saying at one point in time that this was a gentler, kinder way of visiting the past.
Yeah. Yeah. And that was in response to a question I was asked about, my experience with the EMDR, that, yeah, it was just kind of a kind and gentle way to go to the dark places.
Right.
And because what I know when I entered the whole process, although I didn't really understand what was going on for me, I knew, to me, the anxiety, which I had really high, and any depression that was there, those to me are kind of knew something under there. There had to be something under there, underneath, that was that caused me to experience those symptoms. And I know, one of the things I appreciated, Kelly, is that you provided me with really good grounding tools through the process. So and by ground is just sort of helping me get back into my body, because I think I always have been, maybe in some ways, really disconnected from my body, and I found it was really tough for me to connect back. So you would, at the end of every session, kind of give me a little grounding exercise, which really helped me to, between sessions, to sort of work on that. Made a significant difference to my experience of the whole process.
You did have those good cognitive strategies, right? And for me, I'm always thinking about the 3 levels of the brain, I guess. We've got the top part of the brain that really deals with those cognitions. So what we're thinking is up there, and that's kind of where our reasoning comes from, right, in our prefrontal cortex. And then the middle of the brain, we have those emotions, especially in the limbic system. We've got the amygdala, which is our danger system, right? So it alerts us to danger or threats in the environment and sets off a fight, flight, freeze type of a response in our sympathetic nervous system. And then we have the body, which is kind of more bottom of the brain, that more sensory motor kind of stuff. And so for you, you had lots of great cognitive skills, but they weren't working for you because these kind of dormant memories from the past had been re-triggered by what was happening in the present. Right? And when they came up, you lost the cognitive abilities, right? You're back in those times. So we had to go to the emotion and the body level to get you back into what we would call your window of tolerance. So a space where you could tolerate what you were thinking and feeling, both emotions and in your body, and just be able to feel a little bit more comfortable again, right? And so we use strategies that would be more focused on the body to help to ground you. So breathing is a lovely one. You'd already had a breathing strategy, and then we added on some other ones for you.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I remember even the, simple strategies of being mindful when I'm walking and listening to the crunch of the snow under my boots, and just stopping from time to time and looking around. And it all seems so ridiculously simple, and yet it really makes a huge difference. Which, again, at the time, I know sometimes leaving, I'd be thinking, well, what difference is that going to make, really, if I pay attention to how I walk? But really does. So it's just another little tool or strategy to help to sort of bring you back, as you say, back to connect more with your body, which really, really worked for me. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.